So I ran across a couple of Bass Fishing HQ videos over the last couple of days. One of them related to scent, the other related to bass's home structure and movement. And I think I put a couple of things together. We're actually going to test that out today. Gary and I were out here a few days ago and didn't so much as spook a single fish, which was concerning. One of the things that was going on was that there was a detergent type odor coming off of the water. In all likelihood, it was coming from one of the farms. This particular river is lined with them from the very headwaters all the way down to where it meets the main river. What we did the last time is we headed upstream and came back over here. I mean, we just peppered that area. Tried to catch a fish, tried to spook a fish, couldn't get anything going on. Now the water is up a little bit from where it was. There was a good amount of rain, brought this thing considerably up, and it's back to clear. It's a little more sediment than there was the last time, but at any rate, I want to take a quick trip upstream, see if I detect that detergent type odor, and see if I spook any fish on the way. If that is the case, which I suspect it will be, gonna head downstream and get as far away from that odor as I possibly can, and my bet is gonna start spooking fish. The goal isn't necessarily to catch fish today, it's just to find them. Water temp is about 45, air temp's about 50, so we're not exactly ideal bass fishing conditions right now, but they've got to be somewhere, and they were not in that stretch that is normally chock full of them. So the goal today is to figure it out and see if the theory holds up. Let's go. Okay, but here's the thing. I can smell that farming byproduct, whatever it is. I don't know if it's an insecticide or whatnot, but it essentially smells like a detergent. I don't know of any water treatment plants, which would, generally speaking, be the cause for such an odor, and would ordinarily want to take a guess and say I'm not going to spook anything off, but we're trying to put at least a little bit of facts behind this experiment here, so I'm gonna go check. All right, so the point of what I'm doing right now is just keeping an eye out, see if I spook any fish. There's a deeper hole up here that theoretically should hold fish any season of the year. And listen, I'm not suggesting that there's anything nefarious going on. I'm sure whatever's going on is perfectly legal. But based on what we saw at Bass Fishing HQ, this kind of jibes with what we're experiencing out here, with absolutely not scaring off a single fish. I mean, I should be able to creep right up on them. And where I'm sitting right now, that detergent-y smell is pretty prominent. That said, let's have a look at part of what I saw on Bass Fishing HQ.
Bass probably used one of three main homing mechanisms to find their way back to their nest: the Earth's magnetic field, sight, and smell. The first thing that the researchers did was to catch 15 male control bass. These bass had a simulated treatment done to them, meaning the researchers acted like they were doing a treatment without actually doing anything to the fish. The bass were then released 200 meters from their nest, and they were given up to 4 hours to come back to the nest. Within 1 hour of the simulated treatments, 11 of the 15 bass had already returned to their nest. And within 4 hours of the simulated treatment, 13 of the 15 control bass had returned to their nest. After collecting the data from the control bass, 33 additional bass were given treatments in this study. 11 received a vision impairment treatment to temporarily block their sense of sight, 11 a geometric impairment treatment to block their sense of the Earth's magnetic field, and 11 an olfactory impairment treatment to block their sense of smell. Interestingly enough, after being temporarily blinded, 64% of the bass had returned to their nest within 1 hour. And within 4 hours, 91% of the bass had made it all the way back. Moving on to the geomagnetically impaired bass. Once these bass were released, 73% of the bass made it back to their nests within 1 hour. And within 2 hours, the remaining bass also made it back to their nests. Now, where this study gets interesting is when the researchers impaired the olfactory organs of a bass, taking away the fish's ability to smell. Now, this time within 1 hour of the bass being released, only 27% showed back up on their nest. And after the full 4 hours, a total of 63% had made it back to their nest within the given time restraint. The researchers wrote down that this was statistically significant in their findings and concluded that bass primarily use their sense of smell to home in and locate their nest.
All right, so that part of that video kind of scientifically proved that the biggest sense that fish depend on, particularly when looking for their home ground, is the sense of smell. This smells gross to me. It doesn't smell like sewage or anything like that. If anything, it smells like treated sewage, but there's no sewage plants up here that I know of. But it's gnarly. And in light of the fact that fish can smell better in water than we can in the air, I can imagine that this would not be a very pleasant place to be if you're a fish. And I don't expect anything else to happen out here. All right, so on the way back here, I'm just gonna zigzag it, check all depths, and just see if there's anything to spook off. So it wasn't the other day, and by that odor, I'm almost 100% sure that I am not going to spook off anything. I don't think there are any fish occupying this part of the water right now. So my theory is that the further I get down the river, the more of whatever I'm smelling is going to be diluted, and I'll probably find more fish. I'm not even necessarily trying to catch them, I'm just trying to spook them. I am trying to find proof of life in this river right now. And again, this is not a video to, I'm not trying to be alarmist or anything. I think that this is probably something that happens every year at this time of year. Farmers doing whatever they're doing, and when the stuff finally kind of dilutes out and washes out, that things will more than likely return to normal. Okay, so while I am boogieing down here trying to spook off fish, let's take a look at a portion of another BassFishingHQ video that kind of showed that over the course of a spring, summer, fall, bass, particularly largemouth and in lakes, really only moved about 150 feet over the entire 3 seasons.
During May through July, 26 bass were caught, again 13 from shallow water and 13 from deep water. These fish underwent the same surgery to outfit them with the radio transmitters, and they were released in the exact same spot where they were caught. Now it's worth noting that these fish were not just small juvenile bass. These were tournament grade fish. The bass ranged from 2 to 8.5 pounds, with the majority of the bass over 3.5 pounds. Now, one of the most noteworthy data points from this study concluded that the majority of bass really don't move that much throughout a year. As a matter of fact, in this study, bass moved on average just 150 feet per day. And to be honest, this number would be a lot lower if it weren't for a few fish that were extreme outliers. So many of us anglers are taught that bass have seasonal patterns where they go from deep main lake structure in the winter to the back of small pockets, creeks, and bays in the spring to spawn, and then back out to deep main lake structure again during the summer, only to return to the back of creeks during the fall to chase bait fish. And honestly, this is just not true. While some fish do move a lot, the majority of them really have a home base that they linger around over the course of a year, maybe just making small movements to spawn and to feed.
That's pretty remarkable. Obviously a river ecosystem, the constantly changing structure, that's not the case with smallmouth and anything that occupies rivers, particularly smaller rivers. But my theory is that if they're forced to move because they can't stand their environment because it smells terrible, that they will have. So my guess is that as I progress here, I'm gonna start spooking fish. And once I get into an area where the concentration of whatever's making the water smell is low enough, there might actually be a very high concentration of fish in there, and it might behoove me to actually start seriously throwing. Ride through here. We're pretty much back at our starting point and are going to head downstream from here. That. See, I just spooked another fish. Big TRD is a little bit more conducive to this flow. That's something that I'm going to go over this spring. The what, the when, the where, and the why. Got a fish, I think. Yeah. Oh no, I lost it. Son of a bitch. All right. Damn. My drag was completely off. Shit. We're behind a little cloud cover right now, but still just keeping my eyes peeled for spooking fish. I have spooked a couple more. So I'm kind of confirming what I thought might be the case. That said, I definitely want to thank BassFishingHQ for leading me to making that connection between those two things, movement and scent. All right. I do not want to hex myself, but I have a good feeling about the next few minutes. I've spooked off 6 or 7 fish now, which is a lot higher number than anything that Gary and I did the other day or anything that I did in the earlier part of this video. I have a fair degree of confidence that we can get into one. But there's no reply at all. No reply at all. Is anybody listening? Oh! There we go. Smallmouth. Come here, buddy. Yes. Hell yeah. First smallie of 2023. Nice little 12 or so. Sweet. Thank you for helping me confirm my theory, buddy. I really appreciate it. Sweet. Nice. Heck yeah. That was a pretty definitive bite right there. Oh, sweet. Nice. Here we go. Unskunked. Need to have the drag another click or two, but it felt like I had him pretty solid. Alright folks, theory confirmed. The further I got away from that stench, the more I started spooking off fish, the more I started seeing fish, and then I finally got into one. 45 degrees of water. That came on the Finesse TRD with a 1/32 ounce mule fishing jig head. Just barely twitching it.